You guys, I think I figured out why Ryan Reynolds does not like Justin Baldoni, and it has nothing to do with Blake Lively. So last year it was announced that Scarlett Johansson was making her directorial debut and directing the movie Eleanor the Great. Can you guess who's funding the movie? Wayfarer Studios.
The Blake versus Baldoni courtroom battle isn't until 2026, but the drama is already at a boiling point. Even celebrities are now taking a side, like comedian Heather McDonald in a raw, unfiltered TMZ interview made it crystal clear she's 100% not Team Blake. Even more shocking, she defended Baldoni's infamous 2 a.m. voice memo, calling his late-night message and his voice nothing but sexy. But what's more important is that McDonald also hinted that Ryan Reynolds may have secretly fueled the fallout, suggesting his jealousy over the film's reception pushed him to intervene. So could Reynolds have played puppet master behind the scenes, escalating tensions to the point of legal warfare? And if so, what does that mean for Blake's case? With media insiders and Hollywood elites taking sides, this trial isn't just about justice. It's about reputation, power, and the truth no one saw coming. Perhaps the truth is that Ryan Reynolds just hates Baldoni. Why do I say that? There's a shocking reason which I will come to very soon after setting up the stage step by step. Stay with me. December 20th, 2024, just one day before the whole mess hit the fan. Blake Lively's team pulled the first gag order and took legal action, sharing some text messages and allegations publicly. But if you closely check out Lively's lawsuit, they only included some of the messages and conveniently left out the context. This is what we call a manipulation. According to Baldoni's lawsuit, Lively's team was editing, cherry-picking, and even removing emojis to twist the meaning of those texts. Now, here's the big question. How did Lively's team even get those texts in the first place? Were they legally obtained? Did they have permission? It sure seems like they just picked and chose only which messages to use as evidence. This also falls under evidence tampering. And on top of that, they slapped a gag order on Baldoni, basically telling him he couldn't respond to anything. They gave their side of the story to the New York Times, falsely of course, but Justin wasn't allowed to say a word because of the cease. But the whole thing takes a weird turn because the document claims there's a dangerous false equivalency that could have some serious consequences for workplace harassment cases. The argument is that speaking out against retaliation is protected by law, and it totally is. But what happens when the allegations aren't even true? Naturally, Baldoni's got every right to defend himself. Lively's lawsuit is basically trying to destroy his career, get him fired, and strip him of opportunities. Yet they expect him to just stay quiet? So now Baldoni's team is pushing back hard. They dropped a statement ready to fight for his side of the story. It reads, "We will not be bullied into silence by the petrified Blake Lively. The irony is not lost on anyone that Miss Lively is so afraid of the truth that she has moved to gag it. The immense power she wielded in Hollywood, built on the fear of her husband and their powerful friends, came to an end the moment she orchestrated a mass distribution of disturbingly false and well-calculated hit pieces in the New York Times. She did this solely to ruin the lives of innocent individuals and then attempted to place the blame on a fictitious smear campaign simply because she could not accept that the public had seen through her facade." The statement continues, "When you accuse innocent individuals of something as serious as sexual harassment without considering the destruction it causes, not just to them, but to the entire domestic violence community, there must be accountability. We will always respect the court, but we will never be bullied into silence by those suggesting we cannot defend our clients with pure, unedited facts. All we want is for people to see the actual text messages that directly contradict her allegations, the video footage that proves there was no sexual harassment, and all other powerful evidence that exposes any false claims." decide if a gag order will be slapped on Justin Baldoni's legal team, stopping them from sharing text messages. But here's the twist. Blake Lively's team has been pushing really hard to keep those messages under wraps, and it's got people talking. On January 25th, Blake's lawyers filed another motion trying to make that gag order even tighter. They're accusing Justin's lawyer, Brian Friedman, of extra-legal misconduct, basically saying he's stepping way out of bounds, and they want the court to call a meeting to deal with it. Why? Because they claim Friedman's been talking to the press about the case in a way that goes against the rules, even though Blake's team already spilled some of the beans to the New York Times. Meanwhile, Friedman's got plans to release full, unedited WhatsApp messages and emails between Blake and Justin. Blake's team is worried that doing this will be one-sided, like it's gonna leave out stuff that paints her in a bad light. So Blake's team is throwing shade at Friedman for doing media interviews, like his appearance on Megyn Kelly's show, accusing him of trying to sway public opinion. Now, amidst all these, Ryan Reynolds, Blake's husband, is sticking by her side, even though it's pretty clear that she's not exactly winning this legal battle. He's been caught up in the drama too, trying to get a gag order on Justin's lawyer. It's a bit crazy when you think about it because Blake was the one who sued Justin in the first place. It's funny though, Blake's been cool with sharing edited messages, but now that Justin wants to show everything, she's trying to stop him. Why is she so afraid of the full picture being out there? What's she hiding? Friedman says if Blake was telling the truth, she wouldn't need a gag order to keep evidence under wraps. Because, simply speaking, the gag order request appears to signal a lack of a solid case on Ryan Reynolds and Blake Lively's part. It suggests nothing but an attempt to control public perception by preventing the release of damaging information, possibly to maintain a fabricated narrative. So what started as an on-set spat was now blown up into a legal war worth hundreds of millions, with some even comparing it to Depp versus Heard. From what we know so far from insiders, there were some feelings involved between Justin and Blake. Maybe Justin wasn't feeling the same way, but Blake sure was. And Ryan? Well, he picked up on it. Definitely, he's not happy about it, but some sources are saying that Ryan's behind this whole filing business. Ryan's got a ton of projects in the works, so the last thing he needs is for the whole situation to mess with that. It's just not fair to the people working at his company or his co-workers. Because if Ryan's going to be painted as the bad guy here, then everyone's going to have to deal with the fallout. So Blake's lawyers have apparently been trying to get Brian to stop talking about the case for a while now, sending him letters to keep quiet. But just think about it, if Blake was right all along, and she had evidence to back it up, her lawyers wouldn't have to fight so hard to silence everyone, right? Plus, Ryan's not just focused on his career. There's word going around that he's also worried about Blake's well-being. Ryan's team is saying Brian Friedman's media statements are breaking court rules by making public comments that aren't even relevant to the case. So basically, Ryan's worried that all of Brian's media coverage is going to mess up the whole trial. It might make it hard to find a fair, unbiased jury. And let's be real, at this point we're all starting to see Blake for who she really is. But Justin, he's living his best life. He's been out in Hawaii with his family, smiling and enjoying himself. Word is that their request for a gag order is dead in the water. It's not going to work, and honestly, it just makes Ryan look even more guilty, jealous, and full of hatred. But as I mentioned earlier, why would Ryan hate Baldoni of all things? Let me break it down. Justin Baldoni is one of the co-founders of Wayfarer Studios, the production house behind the film It Ends With Us, and a bunch of other movies. Now, here's the thing that many of you would love to know. Ryan Reynolds used to be married to Scarlett Johansson, but their marriage didn't work out. And after their divorce, he moved on with Blake Lively. Well, last year, Scarlett Johansson announced she'd be making her directorial debut with a new movie called Eleanor the Great. And guess which production house is producing the project? It's Wayfarer Studios, or should I say, it's none other than Justin Baldoni himself. In simple words, Ryan found Baldoni working both with his ex-wife and current wife simultaneously. maybe he has also noticed some funding or other discrepancies too, which made him hate Justin. I think now you can see a bigger picture. And that's why this whole situation might look like a showdown between Justin and Blake. But it's really starting to feel more like Justin versus Ryan. Ryan seems to have a real grudge against Justin, maybe even jealousy. And here's the juicy part of the drama. Baldoni, trying to make things right after all the tension, dropped a nearly 7-minute voicemail on Lively's phone at 2 a.m. recently. Yes, 2 a.m., which already raised some eyebrows. In this voicemail, he's laying it all out, apologizing for his actions and recognizing the struggles she's had to face. He's coming across as vulnerable, almost like he's trying to mend a broken bridge between them. He even thanks her for the feedback, praises her hard work on the film, and even says he's hoping to work together creatively again. It sounds like he's really trying to repair things, but the timing and length of that voicemail made people talk. A lot of people started wondering if it had something to do with the friction between Baldoni and Reynolds, maybe even leading to a confrontation between them. Now, what makes this whole thing even crazier is that Baldoni or his team decided to share the voicemail with the media. That definitely changed the whole vibe of the situation. People who are backing Baldoni argue that this voicemail totally shifts the narrative, saying it kind of dismantles Lively's claims of harassment and paints Baldoni as someone just trying to manage a tough situation. But then, Lively's side doesn't seem to be backing down either. Some sources suggest that her PR team might have been pushing a campaign to hurt Baldoni's reputation, but it's kind of backfired again. With everything going public, it's a mess of motives, and it seems like there's no easy way to figure out who's really at fault. And here's where it gets even more complicated. Baldoni's personal growth journey has been under a microscope too. He wrote this book back in 2021, Man Enough: Undefining My Masculinity, where he talked about his evolving views on masculinity. So when people started analyzing his actions, they noticed something. They saw Baldoni as almost bending to Lively's influence, trying to get her approval rather than standing his ground. Some critics say that's him trying to redefine masculinity, but in a way that looks like he's giving up his own stance. Maybe that could be another reason for Ryan's hatred towards him. Maybe he thought that way Justin was trying to woo Blake on set subtly. So the whole situation, his voicemail, the public exchange, the back and forth, is making people wonder how this is going to play out for both their careers and reputations in the long run. Because finally, now, Justin Baldoni is not just sitting back. He's standing up for himself and fighting back against all these crazy claims. So it's just a matter of time to see what more gets revealed, and who loses less in the end. What do you think about this? And if you were to pick a side, whose side would you pick and why?